Hello and welcome to the Comic Sleep Podcast, the official podcast of comicsleep.com. My name is Joseph and thank you for joining us for episode number 5. On this episode, Angela and I are going to be talking about the Studio Ghibli movie, My Neighbor Totoro. This is the first in what's going to be a little bit of a series for us. We're going to be discussing a couple Studio Ghibli movies over the next few months. And this is the first one of those. I think we're going to try to get to 4 or 5 of them, through, November and maybe into December a little bit. And this is the one that we started with. We're both pretty new to these movies. This is the first one I had seen. Angela has seen a couple before this, and we talk about sort of our familiarity with this studio's work. And their style a little bit, or what we can try to interpret about their style, because they're known for having their own, animation style, their own subject. Their movies are about a certain subject matter, and how that kind of different from animation studios like Pixar or DreamWorks, which have a bigger presence in the West. But yeah, so we're really excited to start this series. It gives us a reason, an excuse to watch these movies. And I think you'll hear that we both quite enjoy this one for a variety of different reasons. But yeah, so I hope that comes across in the conversation. Look out for future podcast episodes about other Studio Ghibli movies. I think we're going to do Kiki Delivery Service is going to be our next one in a couple weeks, but we're still figuring that out for sure. So thank you for being here with us for episode number 5, and we hope you enjoy the podcast.
Alrighty, so this week we watched My Neighbor Totoro, and I've got the Wikipedia page all pulled up. So it says, My Neighbor Totoro is a 1988 Japanese animated fantasy film written and directed by Hayao Miyazaki and animated by Studio Ghibli for Tacoma Shoten. The film tells the story of a professor's 2 daughters, Satsuki and Mei, and their interactions with friendly wood spirits in a post-war rural Japan. So, what'd you think?
I really like this movie. I know that's simple and reductive, but I don't watch a lot of animated stuff. I like animated movies.
Is this your first Studio Ghibli one?
This is my first Studio Ghibli movie. I know they're a big deal, right? Like, first time they're available on like streaming, right? They're like been kind of hard to get in the West. Now they're on HBO Max. So I was aware of the sort of excitement around that. Never seen one before. I remember when Spirited Away came out. But yeah, so I was like, we decided to do this partly because I wanted to give myself a reason to watch these movies, right? And we're going to do a couple more over the next 2 months. But I really liked it. And right, I think it's, if you go on like lists of like best movies ever, it's in like the top 100, right? So like other people also like this movie. This isn't a new opinion. But I guess as I was, after I watched, I was kind of thinking like how do you feel about Pixar movies, right? Because I guess I was, and I don't know if this is fair, but I guess, right, I've heard of Studio Ghibli. I know that's like a style, right? I know it's this Japanese animation studio. They have like a style. They make a certain type of movie, right? And I think the other big animation studios are like DreamWorks, which has a style less identifiable. I couldn't tell you what a DreamWorks movie looks like exactly. But then Pixar, right? And Pixar has a style, right? And they make kids movies that aren't really kids movies, because they're really sad and depressed. They make kids movies that make adults cry, right? That's what Pixar does. And like they're very like the characters are like kind of very smooth and round. The animation's cool. There's a lot of action, right? It's a lot of computer. The computer animation's like very visible, right? They're not trying to I'm not saying like hide that they're using computers, but it's just like obviously it's like the computer animation's obvious. Not, and I don't mean to say that in a bad way. I just can't think of a better way to say it. But this movie, right? It's more. I guess I kept thinking of paintings when I was watching it. Right? It's beautiful in a way that like I've only a few movies. And like there's two other animated movies that I was thinking of. So my favorite animated movie and a movie actually I'd like to do one time with you, or I'd like to do for the podcast, is Fantastic Mr. Fox, which is a Wes Anderson movie. I think that is like claymation animation.
Ooh, we should do the Isle of Dogs too if we're doing Wes Anderson.
Yeah, we could do a couple Wes Anderson movies, right? But it's like it's a funny story. It's got like George Clooney and I think Meryl Streep as voice actors. But yeah, it's like claymation, and part of it is because it has like the Wes Anderson, like the symmetrical sort of like quirky style, which is nice. But it's also very nice to look at. And I guess this other movie isn't. I don't know if this counts as animated, but it's. Do you know what rotoscoping is?
Yeah, it's sort of. I think about like video games or like comic books kind of style, right?
Yeah, I think comic books is a really good way to describe it. So it's what they film. It's what the way they make it is they film a movie, and then they take the frames that they filmed, and they animate those frames, right? They generally hand draw those frames, right? So when you see the final movie, right, you see the lines moving because they're not one-to-one from each one frame to the next, right? So it has this sort of not like incompleteness or like messiness to it, right? But it just has this like variable, right? There's this like variability from one frame to the next, right? It's like the character's like a little bit wobbly or something almost. But there's this movie called Loving Vincent, which is about the life of Vincent van Gogh, and it's rotoscoped, but instead of like hand drawing the frames, they watercolored painted the frames in the style of Vincent van Gogh, right? So it's like these swirling paintings moving, right? Like the movie is literally a painting, right? Like that is sort of the best way that I could describe My Neighbor Totoro, is like you're seeing these like beautiful still paintings, and then there's like characters moving in the background or the foreground, right? That is, the action happening. So I was just arrested kind of by the look of this movie. And to be very honest, like I was gonna watch it, but I wasn't like excited to watch it. And then I got like 10 minutes in and I was like, I love this. And it's like a brisk movie. It's like 86 minutes, so it moves pretty quick. Where you have seen a few like Studio Ghibli movies, and I don't want to like compare it too much, but just like what stood out to you about this movie, like right when you put it on?
Well, something that like kind of goes back to what you were saying about how it was like pretty looking is when I watched Spirited Away, I kept on saying like every shot looks like it could be on like a poster, or like it could be like somebody's like phone wallpaper, and I think that was also true for this movie as well. I've only seen two other Studio Ghibli movies. I saw Spirited Away, and I also saw Secret World of Arrietty, but like I saw the English dub version, so I don't know if that counts.
Wait, I don't want to interrupt, but just how did you watch this movie? Or like, I guess subs or dubs?
Oh, subs.
Subs, okay.
Did you?
So I put it on, and when you hit play on HBO Max, it starts with the English voice, it starts with like the English dub, and I got like 5 minutes in, and I was like, this does not work. Like something is off. And then I like went back out to the menu, and it's right there, but it says
Yeah, I got it.
Japanese, and then
I got it
I
right
clicked on
away.
that, and then it like started up from that moment with the Japanese voice acting and the subtitles. But I find that kind of disappointing that they don't make that the first option, and that
Mhm.
they don't tell you that. Um, I don't know. I don't want to like. I know this is like a debate on the internet about like subs versus dubs. I do think this movie's better with the subtitles.
Yeah. Yeah. I
I
think
could you like I
it just
can't
makes
explain
more
why.
sense to like digest the content as it was like supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know? Cuz like it's originally like a Japanese film that's like in Japanese language, and it's
Hmm.
just like it just feels right to watch it that way. And like especially because it's like I don't know, I feel like you've watched some anime or whatever, and like I watched some anime. I like to watch like Korean dramas, Chinese dramas, so it's like I'm okay with reading while I'm like watching TV, but some people are like so against it.
Yeah.
um but I think that it it's just like I really like it, honestly, to just like be able to read captions and if it's in a different language, because I feel like you can hear the feeling of the words better.
Yeah. And I guess I would almost say I would have to watch it and figure out if this is true, but I almost wonder like if you put it on in Japanese but you didn't read all the subtitles, like I think the movie would still make sense. Maybe I'm not sure. Maybe someone out there wants to try that, but I
I feel
really
like, yeah, especially because it's like pretty short and like it is
yeah.
like a children's movie, so it's not very like it's not too complex like at face value, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that gets to that's a really good point. This is a children's movie, right? You can show this to a child. This isn't Toy Story 3 where the toys burn a dumpster are about to burn a dumpster fire at the end, right? Or like there is no if like there is there's there so the two girls Satsuke and Mei, their mom is in the hospital, right? But she's not like dying. She's not about to die. They're worried about her, but she doesn't appear to be like dying. Their dad is like very present. He seems like a good dad, right? Like things are there isn't some sort of like existential dread hanging over this movie, and I really enjoyed that. That it is a kids movie. It's for adults. Like any like adults should watch this. It's a great movie, but like it is a kids movie first and foremost, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's also about being a kid, right? Like that's kind of the point of this movie. So right, Satsuke and Mei, they move to the like rural Japan, and they're right. Their kid. I don't know. Mei they say is 4 years old. Do they say how old Satsuke is?
No, but I was like looking at articles and I think she's like about 16.
Oh, that old.
Right.
Okay. I guess I would have said like 10 or 11, but
Yeah, or like 13 maybe.
people definitely aren't. I think that maybe makes sense because people definitely aren't surprised that she's much more independent in the way that you wouldn't be if it was a 16-year-old versus a 10-year-old. But and so right, so they move to the countryside, and they're sort of they're very excited to move into this new house, right? And it's very early on, right? They move in, and there's like they're going to the house, and you see like these they open the I think it's the door to the kitchen, right? They open the door to the
Mm-hmm.
kitchen, like all these black things like fly off the walls, and like or they're like covering the walls, and then they like kind of just like disappear into the cracks
Right,
in the
which, if I may interject, there had these similar dudes that they reminded me of like these little suit dudes from Spirited Away too. And when I
oh,
saw that, I was like, oh, I know what this is, but I was wrong.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right, so they're described as like dust bunnies, but they're kind of like spirits, right? They're like sentient dust bunnies, right? But it's, this old woman who takes care of the house that they are moving into tells them that they're magical, right? They're things that only like children can see. And that very much sets up the rest of the movie, right? Because while May is running around, she kind of goes into the forest that they live next to, and she finds this big cat bear thing called Totoro, that only she and her sister can see, right? And that Totoro turns out to be like a friendly spirit, like woodland spirit that sort of helps them throughout the movie. One scene I really liked, I don't know if you remember this one, when they're going, right? So May like finds that path through the woods, right? And it's like that, how the trees form that little path like to where that she found Totoro.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So like May fits through it perfectly, right? Because she's short. She's 4 years old. She's like very short. She can go through perfectly. And then her sister has to like bend over a little bit, right? And then her father has to like, it's like very difficult, right? He's like on his hands and knees, and it's like hard for him. And I really like that because it was, I think this movie is kind of, it's about sort of that like the magic, that sort of like magicalness, which is definitely not a word, the magic of like finding something new when you're a child, or just sort of how something very plain can be something magical with your imagination, right? And that's something you kind of lose, I think, when you're an adult. And so I think that scene when they're like, May fits like perfectly, and her sister's like kind of too big, but not yet, right? And then her father's just like way too big, and it's like, right, it's like these three people as part of a family, but they're like, right, they're this like on this age spectrum, and sort of, the magic isn't there for her dad, but like May still has like very much like easy access to it.
Right.
And I thought that, I don't know, that's what I thought of when I saw it. What if you had like, and I don't even know if that's like reading too much into the movie, what would you say it's about, if you have to say it's about something?
The movie as like a whole?
Yeah.
Um
Or is that even like a good question to ask?
I don't know, because it's like, I guess it's just like about like, I don't know. And this is sort of interesting because I was talking to Kelvin about it, about how it's like it's hard to describe the plot.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how like with like some Japanese films, especially Studio Ghibli films, like the plot isn't like a conventional plot like we see in like an American movies, where it's like it feels like not a lot happened, but like it's just sort of like not like slice of life, because like stuff obviously happens, but it's just a bit harder to describe, or to like be like, this is rising action, this was the climax,
Oh yeah. I don't think there is any of that in this movie, right? Because like I
Right.
said, there's no like existential threat. There's no something bad's about to happen,
Right.
right? There's like
it's just nice.
it's just a nice movie, right? There's like 10 minutes near the end, when there's like a little bit of distress, right? I guess we could talk about that a little bit. So their mother is sick. It's never framed as being, I guess it's not framed as being terminal or like very serious. Do you agree with that?
Right. And like in the end she does like come home, so.
Yeah. But yeah, so towards the end there, it's like they get a letter that she's gonna come home like on Monday or something, and then they get a call from the hospital saying that she got a cold, so she can't leave yet. And the kids are very afraid that it is something like more serious. And so May runs May, right? This little 4-year-old girl's like, I'm gonna
Mhm.
run to the hospital and make sure she's okay, right? Like a
With
thing of
this little
four,
corn.
right? Yeah, right. Because like the woman, like the old woman who kind of functions as their grandmother a little bit, was like, the vegetables that I grow will make your mother strong, right? So May takes an ear of corn. It's like, I'm gonna go give it to mom and make her feel better, right? This like
Mhm.
very innocent, very nice thing that like a young child, like that's how a child would think. They're like, I want to go make sure my parents okay.
Mhm.
And so there's like a point in the movie when they're like not sure where May is. It's maybe like 10 minutes, but that's like as serious as it gets when they're like looking for her because she's lost.
Mhm.
um but even then, right, like the resolution of that is like Satsuki goes and finds Totoro, this big like imaginary spirit bear, who calls, how would you describe that
A
thing?
cat bus.
He calls a cat bus, right? It's a cat that is a bus with
Yes.
eyes that are headlights and 10 arms, and it's very wild. It's very Alice in Wonderland.
It did look like the Cheshire Cat, yeah.
It's like the Cheshire Cat, but I feel like it should have more teeth or something because it has the same smile, but it's like not enough teeth. Um,
Yeah.
right? And then like she's like, I want to go to May, and the cat bus takes her right to May.
Mhm.
And then the cat bus takes them to the hospital, and they see their mom, and like it's just they're sitting up in a tree, and their mom is fine, and their dad's there, and like everything's gonna be fine at the end. Yeah, I don't know. It's and it's I think that's a good point that Calvin brought up. It just doesn't have that same like building action, conflict, you know, falling action denouement thing. It's just like that it happens, and it's you kind of got to be there for, how people say things are like a mood,
Mhm.
maybe that's a good way. Like you kind of got to be there for the mood of the movie. um and a huge part of that is the music, right?
Mhm.
um I think we were saying to each other before the podcast, like, I loved it. I don't know if I'll watch it again. Like, I feel like I got this movie. I really enjoyed it. I watched it. I don't know if I'm gonna watch it again, but I will listen to that soundtrack again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. And it's funny because I had heard that like one distinct My Neighbor Totoro melody before. So it was just interesting to see like I've never even watched the movie. I like the little FBI agent in my computer, like he wouldn't have known that like I would have been like interested in Studio Ghibli films, but like I have just heard it like on from YouTube, from like just like I don't know, my For You page on TikTok, and like I've heard it before. So like when I heard it in this context, it was like, oh, this is great, because it was
Yeah.
like familiar, and like now I was finally understanding where it came from.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. The music is really good. It's some of it has words, some of it has like Japanese singing. A lot of it is instrumental, but it's just like really beautiful. It would be something that you like put on when you're like studying or writing. Very what lo-fi hip hop beats to chill to vibes.
Yes.
And that movie, there were points in that movie I was like, if they like stopped it right there and they put that on YouTube with the music, the way that YouTube channel is,
Uh-huh.
with the like anime girl who's just writing,
Yeah.
I was like, that would be perfect. Studio
Uh-huh.
Ghibli should do that. They should pick scenes from their movies, and that would be great. Um, anything else you want to add?
um no, no, not. I mean, I guess I understand because like just like in life, you see a lot of like Totoro merch, and like before I saw, I was like, I don't really understand it. Like, okay, but like Totoro is so cute in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion. I really like. He was just really cute, and like I would totally buy like a plushie of him now.
Yeah, yeah. It's like a weird mix of a cat and a bear, but it's just he like I think he only ever smiles, even when he's like growling, he's smiling. It's great. Yeah. Definitely like I don't know. I wasn't like feeling great yesterday when when I started watching it, and I was like that, but it brought up my spirits a little bit. So it's and I thought you were about to say I get the thing. I get why people love these movies so much. Like I get why Studio Ghibli is a big deal.
That too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I like now I'm excited to watch these other movies. So I was like, all right, now what do we get? This was I really love this. Yeah, so My Neighbor Totoro streaming on HBO Max. Did you find it somewhere else, or where did you?
I tried. I mean, I could buy it. What's weird is it's more expensive to buy the Japanese version versus the English version, like on Apple or on Amazon Prime.
Oh, so you don't like buy the movie and then you can watch it in either version. You have to buy a specific version.
Right. The English version is
weird.
like $10. The Japanese version like $20. And I was like, I'm not paying $20. Please give me your HBO Max password.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's. And I think maybe you get a month free of HBO Max if you sign up. I'm not sure if they do that. Maybe not, but yeah, definitely worth it. We're gonna watch a couple other of these, and in the next 2 months, like we said, and we'll say what those are down the road. But we're gonna come back after a short break with a few, just a few last words for this episode. What we've been enjoying lately. We'll see you in a second.
We're back. And now we're just gonna share some things that have been making us happy. So I'll go first. Joey, do you know that Wipeout's coming back? I mean, this is like old news, but have you heard?
Is this that game show where people
with the big red balls?
The big red balls. I did not hear that.
Oh well, okay. And guess who's hosting it?
John
Cena.
Oh.
And Nicole Byer.
I was gonna say, give me a hint. I was like, is this a comedian or is this like an actor? Okay.
Two hosts.
Okay. Nicole Byers is
nailed it.
Nailed it. Okay, I was gonna say she's definitely done. Okay, that's a good pairing. I like that.
I am so excited, especially because I really like Nicole Byer content. She has like 1 million podcasts, and I listen to all of them. And it's funny because like I feel like I listen to them so many times because like I listen to them as I'm trying to fall asleep, so I usually end up only hearing like 10 minutes of it, so I just keep on replaying them. But yeah, I would highly recommend listening to any of her podcasts. Most of them are on Spotify. There is one that you have to pay for that's based off of 90 Day Fiancé. I haven't listened to that one because I can't afford that right now, but she's got like 3 other. Especially, I would recommend Newcomers, and it's where her and Lauren Lapkus, they've watched the Star Wars, all those movies, and then they're currently doing Lord of the Rings, and they're just like diving into the fandom, I guess. And as I was watching this, I was like, this would be really fun if Nicole Byer and Lauren Lapkus did Studio Ghibli movies for their next like season. I think that'd be really fun.
Wait, you think they'd do a better job than us?
No, I think they'd be funnier than us.
Oh, they do. Okay, that's fair. I was gonna say they're not gonna do a better job, but all right, that's fair. Okay. All right. Is Nailed It the cake? What's Nailed It?
Nailed It is where like they're all bad at baking, and it's
okay. It's a baking show.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's like no bake. Or there's baking. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like a very funny, not serious show.
Okay. All right. Nice. Awesome. That is Wipeout. Is that on a streaming or is that on cable?
I don't think it's been released yet. I've been trying to figure it out.
It'd be nice if it came to Netflix the way the Floor is Lava did. Because I watched The Floor is Lava even though I enjoyed it, right? I wasn't like paying close attention, but that was nice. That was a nice show to have on.
Right.
Cool. Okay, so I have been enjoying Legos because I'm a child. Obviously, we just talked about an animated movie. But what was I gonna say? Oh, I meant to say this in the episode. It's fine. One thing I'll say this. The one thing I was thinking about while watching the movie is, um, I think it's Shigeru Miyamoto, the guy who invented Mario, right? Who like was created the first Mario game, um, for Nintendo. He has said that his inspiration for those games was his experience playing in the woods in his home, or in his home in Japan as a young child, and like those games and the sort of like magic and the mystery and the discovery in them is trying to recapture his experience of playing in the woods and like what that was like as a young kid. And I was thinking about like, oh, that's right, because I think that's also part of the movie, right? The like what you kind of find out in the woods when you're exploring. And that's also related to what I'm enjoying because Lego recently released a Nintendo Entertainment System Lego set. So the Lego set is a TV that has Mario on the TV, and then it's the NES console with like a game cartridge that you can put inside of it. My apartment's too small to make the whole thing, but I made the TV with the Mario. I did. I made it yesterday. Yeah, it's surprising actually that I was like, oh, this is going really fast. But the TV has like a Mario screen, and there's a crank on this side, and as you crank it, Mario like jumps over and moves through, like he like jumps on Goombas and like collects mushrooms and like jumps over bricks, right? It's very cool. I'm looking at it right now. It's very cool. We have it up on the shelf. It's 2,600 pieces, but I have a few like I have some like Star Wars ships that are about like 13 or 1,400, right? So like kind of half the size. But this one, I think the reason it went so fast is because it's all sort of laid out on a grid, right? The TV's like a box, and the Mario screen is like laid out on this grid, right? And there's a lot of like little pieces, but there's nothing like very intricate that you're putting together the way that some of the Star Wars stuff is, where you're like placing tiny pieces in like very intricate specific ways. So I don't think it took me about 3 or 4 hours yesterday to put the whole thing together, and I was expecting it to take me maybe, I was like, oh, I won't finish this weekend because it might take like 8 to 10 hours, but I kind of flew through it yesterday. But yeah, I really enjoy looking at it. Every so often I just go over and crank it just because the mechanism that it is inside of it is really cool, the way all the gears work together and everything. So I've been enjoying that. Pardon?
Send me a photo of it.
I'll send you a pic when we finish. It's cool, or we'll FaceTime or something. All right, I think that brings us to the end of another episode. Next week we're talking about a podcast. We are talking about the podcast Mystery Show, which is probably like 5 or 6 years old by now. It's a podcast that was on Gimlet Media right when Gimlet Media started. Gimlet Media is most famously known for being where, what is it called? I'm totally blanking on their famous podcast. That's fine. It doesn't matter. It came out like 5 or 6 years ago, right when Gimlet Media started, and they only ever made 6 episodes. So we're gonna listen to at least 3 of those episodes. They're pretty short. They're only about a half hour each. We're gonna probably spend more time talking about episodes 2, 3, and 5. But if you want to listen to all 6 to like get a better feel for it, go ahead. We're gonna be talking about that next week. I think have you listened to it yet?
I only listened to that one episode, like 5 years ago when we were driving to Portland.
Okay. Yeah, so we're gonna get in here and talk about that. I think it's probably one of my favorite podcasts. we'll talk about it next week. Anyways, their famous show is Reply All. That's their like big.
Oh yeah, I listened to that one.
Yeah, a lot of people know Reply All, so that's what Ghibli Media is famous for. But I think it's only 6 episodes, right? So smaller sample size, but mystery show is really good. All right, everyone, thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you back here next week. Bye.
Bye.